everybody. Welcome to OnStage Blog Theater Podcast. And we're really excited today because we are here to talk about one of the big movie releases of the year based on, of course, our beloved Wicked. We're talking about Wicked for Good today. This is the second part of the Wicked film. And it's going to be a blast to talk about it. And I'm theater critic Rachel Wagner and Jacqueline Collier's here.
I'm so excited. The highly anticipated sequel.
Mhm.
And Greg Ehrhardt is here.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't wait to get into this movie because there's so many things about this I want to talk about, and especially as we were just briefly talking about before, like, is this movie good? Like, are we sure? I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah,
So,
we have all kinds of feelings. And I think that we should start out by talking about just our experiences with the musical, the stage musical, and what we thought about the first movie, and then we can dive into this new film. And Jax, this for you was a pretty important musical, right?
Yeah. So this was, you know, a really pivotal musical. Like in my young adulthood, I went with a
hmm.
bunch of my friends, and it was like one of my first times in New York, first time seeing a Broadway show, and I just remember being like, "Oh my God, this is magical!" Like this, and
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to the music before, and was just so pumped to see it and to actually be there. And I was like, I know this feels really special and like it's something different. And here we are, like 20 years later, it's still running on Broadway, and we have these two films. Like it really is. Wicked is like forever changed the landscape
Mm-hmm.
of musical theater.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Greg? What's your kind of experience with the Broadway musical?
Yeah, so Wicked was my first Broadway musical. So I saw it with my wife when we were not married at the time, but it was sort of I knew how much she loved Broadway, so I was like, "Great, I love Broadway too." And so it was sort of handpicked, like this should be great. And what's kind of funny is I didn't love it. I think I would have liked it a lot more if I saw it in my 40s, which I am now, than seeing it in my 20s back then.
Hmm.
I I say that with the proviso that Defying Gravity just blew me away, as it blew away everybody. But that was just like, well, that's the greatest Broadway Broadway song I've
Yeah.
ever heard.
Yeah.
Right now, I think I rank it two. Just thinking about it behind Phantom of the Opera for me, that's just But yeah, so I was very interested because it took so long to get on screen to pair with some
Hmm.
other musicals, that have gone on there. Although I guess most musicals taken a while, but as I was very curious to see how they would do this, especially with Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo.
Hmm.
And I, the first movie for me is a pretty perfect. I want to use the perfect word. It's one of the best stage to screen adaptations ever.
Hmm.
I personally think it's inarguable. It's certainly top three. You can make an argument for number one, in my opinion, but
Yeah.
it's in the top three for sure. So that's where I was heading into this. Rachel, what about
Hmm.
you?
Yeah, so I first saw I've seen it twice on stage, and the first time I saw it was in 2006. I actually had Anna Gasteyer as my alphabet, which is kind of random. And she,
Really?
yeah,
Interesting
she
though. I
was,
love that.
yeah,
That's
and Kate
kind of an
Reindeers
inspired
was,
choice. I mean,
yeah,
I would never have thought of her for the would be my dream alpha buzz, but
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Can she sing?
Yeah, oh
I
yeah,
hope she can.
she was very good. She was very good, and so that I saw it in 2006, and I thought it was incredible. But it's one of those shows that I feel like I've seen it more times than I actually have because it's just such a part of pop culture, and you hear the song so much and everything. And then I just saw it
Yes.
this year. The national tour came through Utah, so I saw it just this year. That's the only two times that I've actually seen it on stage. So I definitely am no expert. So when they first announced that they were doing it in two parts, I was I don't think it's not a good idea. It's not a good idea because, and I even have there's a saved story of my talking about when they first announced that. And I said, Wicked is a very top heavy show. Most
Mhm.
of the good songs are in Act One. And so I just didn't see how they could possibly make a full movie out of Act Two. And I think that is pretty much proved to be correct. I I thought not Act One. I thought that Part One was excellent, very entertaining, and you could say, well, does it really matter if they all still work? Can you just see them as one big movie? The
Hmm.
problem is that it just exposes that second it exposes the problems of the second act because it is on its own and there's all the anticipation and everything. Whereas if it was all just one big movie, you'd be like, oh, the ending was kind of weird, but I loved all that other stuff, right? And
Yeah,
so I,
it really would have been interesting. They'll never do this ever, probably. But like, if they didn't, like, if they did like a 4 hour movie with intermission, like just
Yeah.
one shot,
yeah,
or just really have that pronounced break between Defying Gravity and the rest of the story, because I think that's really
Mm.
important. And I get why they
Yes.
wanted to end a full movie with Defying Gravity. But yeah, I'm generally with you, Rachel, as far as that goes. It is a really, I can't quite think of a musical that's as top heavy and front loaded in Act One with not just the story but the music. And so
mhm.
we'll talk about what kind of the choices they made with Act Two. Just try
Yeah,
and make it its own thing.
they
And
had
some of
to
what some
add
did. Yeah.
they had to add a lot in order to make it work, and they just I was hoping that they, because part one was so good, I was hoping that they would add enough that it would it would work. And it does. I didn't hate it. I actually recommended it. It was overall entertaining, but just in comparison to the first act, it just the first part, it just not nearly as good. Not nearly as good, in my opinion. But Jax, what was your overall feeling about the new movie?
So I saw someone online say that you watch, Wicked Part One, like for the songs, and you watch Part Two for the plot. And I actually really liked Part Two. I thought that
Mm-hmm.
this was some of the most incredible acting. I thought that I felt things about their relationship that I hadn't even like really experienced before to the depth that I felt it in Wicked for Good. Um, I also think the choices that Alphabet and Galinda make when you start getting into what it's like to really go against the system or to try and work within a system,
Mm-hmm.
and like those things that I think about when I watch the musical, but honestly, like not really. Um, I was thinking about in part two, so I thought it was extremely impressive. Now there are things about it that we can like get into that I was like,
Mm-hmm.
didn't like this, not sure about that. But I do have to say with the caveat that, oh my God, you guys, have you guys ever done a 4D movie screening before?
Oh, you were in the D box seats?
Oh, Rachel,
That's a nightmare.
Greg. I
Uh,
didn't. It was basically like I went at the time that I could go, not thinking. My
if you
seats
ever
were
you
sinking
usually you can
water.
oh my gosh, there was water?
There was water.
Oh, that's a
There
nightmare.
was there was water. Yeah.
Uh,
Did they warn you about that?
I love that. Okay, so I should have known, Greg. Like it did say that it was 4D. I just thought,
No.
oh, whatever. I didn't know what 4D meant. I could have Googled it, but I didn't.
4D doesn't necessarily mean water's gonna be sprayed on you. So I'm
Oh,
so
okay.
like they
Good.
didn't do any warning ahead
well,
of the movie or
if
something.
the
No.
D box, you can
Wow.
actually usually turn it off because there's nothing worse, in my opinion, than I did it one time for the second Maze Runner movie, and I was like, never
Oh,
again. I will never. And
and
so,
that's
but luckily you can turn it off if you're
Yeah,
I
in the D box.
yeah, I tried and I was just like messing it up. And the person next to me who I didn't know, like they were a couple seats down, they were like shaking and they're like, how do you turn this off?
Oh my
And none of us
god.
could figure.
I think 4D only works if you've seen the movie before.
Hmm.
And like I think about so interesting. I wanted to bring this up later, but I was in Las Vegas last week and I saw The Wizard of Oz in the Sphere while I was
Oh,
there.
wow.
Yeah, you have your
Yeah, and
review up on the site.
yes, right, correct. And they had I don't know if you call it a 4D thing, but they have a lot of 4D elements in it. Like they have like obviously your seats are vibrating, there's wind blowing during the tornado scene. They have styrofoam apples dropping from the ceiling and leaves blowing around, a couple other things. And it's cool, but if I never saw Wizard of Oz for the first time, it would be wildly distracting. I wouldn't be watching what's on screen. I mean, people
Yeah.
were, and I don't blame them because I'm assuming everyone was there had seen Wizard of Oz. So when apples are flying, dropping from the ceiling, you're trying to catch one because well, it's that's
Yeah.
let's see if I can get a little memento. But yeah,
Wait, is
I
anyone
would
getting hit
never
with those apples, Greg?
again styrofoam like they floated. I mean, it
Okay.
was it
Okay.
weighs 0.0001 pounds. Like no one's
Okay.
gonna get
Okay.
hurt
Okay.
on it.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I would never recommend 4D if you're trying to watch it the first time because you're just going to miss parts of the movie. It's just
Yeah.
you're not going to soak in what you're supposed to soak in.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't need to turn our movie theaters into amusement park attractions. I mean, it
Right.
something like that could be fun in an attraction, but that's under 5 minutes, not for almost 3 hours like this movie. Oh my gosh, that would
Right.
be
Right.
horrible.
Right.
Wow.
So that wasn't
So
your experience. You guys did not
No,
experience
thank
it in
goodness.
4G. Okay.
no.
I'm
Well,
I'm interested to hear about your experiences.
yeah. I what's funny because I booked my showing not realizing it was 3D, and I just don't want to see 3D anymore. So it's like
Yeah,
with the main problem being I can't believe they still haven't fixed this. The lighting is just dimmer on a 3D screen than it
Yeah.
is in a
yeah.
regular movie. So it's just like I couldn't see corners of the screen. It was just,
I didn't
my
even know
eyesight's
this.
good. I don't need glasses. Like, but
I
it's
didn't even know this was available in 3D.
I didn't
Wicked
either.
Forbid.
Right?
Yeah.
They handed me glasses. I'm like, what's
That,
this? Is this the prop?
Yeah.
Like,
Same.
is
Yeah.
this like
Same.
alphabet?
Like, why do I have these?
Is this alphabet glasses? Like you're giving away to everybody? Like, no, it's 3D. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so it's funny. So I was watching Wicked. Oh, by the way, since I'll just recommend to people who haven't seen it, I would not bother watching this in 3D, even if you like
Oh
3D.
no.
There's just not much that's really enhanced through the 3D. There's movies that really work.
Did
And I,
did you see it on like an IMAX or just
nope,
regular?
nope,
Okay.
just regular screen.
Yeah.
So when I saw it in the first hour of the movie, I had a like 2 out of 4, 1.5 out of 4 star ready to go. Like, and just in terms of like, I was really kind of, and I know, I understand this is based on the source material, but there's directorial choices throughout both movies,
Yeah.
and most of it worked in terms of differences from the stage and just like how do you adapt this on screen. I thought all the choices in the first hour were really wrong as far as making this grim and gritty and apocalyptic and very Hunger Games-ish is sort of the analogy
Mm.
I use,
Mm-hmm.
particularly in the third movie when the third movie really changed the tone of the first two, even though the first two are not exactly light and breezy, but the third and really the fourth one even grittier. That's kind of how I felt watching this, where it's just like, all right, we are as clear odds as a fascist society now, and none of these people are redeemable for the most part. And the Ozian people are dumb at a point that they made over and over again. They're easy to rule and they're stupid and they'll follow the whims. And I don't know. It's very different. It's very different than obviously the source material and the previous iterations. And more importantly, it's such a stark change in tone from the first movie.
Hmm.
I do think the movie settled in a bit in the second hour. I think it found its tone a little bit better. I do want to go back to later on the changes in
Mm-hmm.
tone, really jarring changes
Yeah.
in tone. I think in the second hour you really get more into Elphaba and Glinda and their relationship together, and again, just their chemistry is unbelievable, right? Like, and you don't really get that until the second part of the
Hmm.
movie. And I thought two of their songs. I just want to make sure I get it right. Oh yeah, they're back to back. As Long as You're Mine and No Good Deed were fantastic screen
Yeah.
adaptations of it. Very
Mm-hmm.
cinematic. The chemistry between Elphaba and Fiera was unbelievable in that song. Like, I don't know what you guys think. Like, I thought it was like surprisingly sexy and like hot. What was going on between them in that song. And
It's
yeah,
interesting. Yes, yes, but also yes. I think that it reminded me of how I felt about The Wizard and I in the first part, which was great. But there's something about The Wizard and I on stage where it's just her on stage that is so captivating.
Yeah.
And this, when they are on stage and they're just like in each other's like space and it's so sensual, this definitely once they were actually together, I was like, yes, this is hot. This is sexy. I love it. But when she was just kind of like putting on that coat and getting ready and he's like going through her papers, I was like, what is happening?
Yeah. Well, what's surprising is that this movie got a PG rating, of,
Mm,
considering scenes like that. Like, because PG is pretty rare for live action these days.
Mm.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
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 usually they'll just go with the PG-13, and for some of the darker scenes, some of the it's a little. I think that's a little bit surprising. I the only thing that I had a problem with, as long as you're mine, is that because I am like such a Glinda fan, and there it did kind of hurt my heart a little bit, because she'd just been kind of abandoned by both of them. And so it was that made it a little harder for me to get super swoony at at this moment for them. But it was a nice moment as far as the certainly one of the stronger musical moments of the movie.
I think that's a good point, Rachel. Like, I didn't have any trouble getting there, but that's just me. But to your
Hmm.
Mhm.
point, I did have more empathy for Belinda because we definitely saw more about what was happening, like it's happening on her wedding day and everything
Hmm.
like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot more depth and
It's one of my
information we had
nitpicks,
that we
but
don't get
yeah.
in the musical.
Well, when
Yeah.
I was walking out of the theater, the thing I told the rep is I said that I do think this is the best movie that they could have made out of Act Two.
Mm.
But the problem is they shouldn't have made a movie out of Act Two. Like that is the problem. And I mean, I
Maybe
think
one of
that
my questions for you guys at the end, but I'll just do it now. They'd never do this. What if the movie just ended Act One with
Mm.
Defying Gravity? Like that's it.
yeah.
Like that's your story. Like let's put on the stage too. Like just to say,
Hmm.
like what if the Wicked story just ends with Defying Gravity? Is it better?
Hmm.
Is it the same? Like what do we miss?
I think so. I never really thought about it because again, I've only seen it
Right.
twice, like it's not and but yeah, I think so. I think that there'll be a lot of people that will kind of just watch the first movie and that's it. And that's all that they need.
Jax.
Okay, so I think it's a really interesting question. And my answer to it is I don't think it's better. However, do I think it's a standalone, especially the movie? Especially the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. 100% I think it's a standalone.
Right.
For me, for what I enjoy and what I like about this, and for good is mm, probably it goes back and forth between it being my favorite song. So like for me, I'm gonna need that part too. But I do think it's a wonderful standalone. Absolutely. What do
But
you
Yeah.
think, Greg?
because I think for Act One, as far as Elphaba's arc, because again, you can't. It's so hard to look at Wicked as a standalone entity because it doesn't exist without the Wizard of Oz, the 1939
Yes.
movie, and the book. And the thing it has to reconcile, like all villain origin stories, is how do you reconcile the really cruel, vicious Margaret Hamilton depiction that we get in 1939 movie and in the book. Like the book, she's unapologetically cruel as well. With what you get in Wicked, villain origin story, and if you cut it off
Mm,
at Defying Gravity, the two mesh really, really well, right?
yeah.
Because it's that moment, like she made her choice through reasons we all empathize with.
Hmm.
She was friends with Glinda, and then after Defying Gravity, she's off. She makes terrible choices for for uneven reasons, and the two really square together. The problem with Act Two, and I'm just talking about from a villain, and again, this is not a movie problem. This is it's not even a problem per se. It's just with the adaptation squaring with the IP. Is Elphaba is an unapologetic hero as depicted by Act Two. Like she is an animal rights activist. She is a liberator of Oz, and like it is you can't. It's fine in a vacuum. Again, if you have no knowledge of previous IP, it works. But it's like
Yeah.
and
I agree.
And the movie Wicked is trying to retcon this into Wizard of Oz, the elements of Wizard of Oz. So that's why it's like, how do you square this two? And I don't think it even tries to, honestly.
Well, they had to
Um,
lean into the Wizard of Oz even more than the musical because they had to fill up all this time, and and
right.
like the most I guess the most iconic I guess scene to show this problem with me was the scene where she's yelling at Dorothy. She's like, stop crying, and you're just like, this is supposed to be the person that we're rooting for. And I guess that scene is in the musical. I forgot if it was, but somebody was saying
I don't know. I
somebody was
don't
saying on
think it
Twitter that, oh,
is.
that's in the musical. So
Is it?
okay, I guess I forgot. Like,
I
but
guess you and me
I don't
both forgot.
remember.
I guess we
but
all
it definitely
forgot.
stood out way more than it did when I saw the musical. But to have your hero, the person you're supposed to be rooting for, telling a young girl who's in a crazy world, lost, crying over her family, and her dog, and to tell her to stop crying, and that I mean that just
Well,
it's hard to root for your character at that point.
so I thought and even Glinda, everyone is setting Dorothy up as not only being annoying, right? But all Elphaba is saying to her about stop crying is give me back the shoes and I'll let you go. So she's setting up Dorothy as being sort of like obstinate and stubborn and not wanting to give up the shoes. Now, of course, we know she doesn't think she can get home without the shoes, whatever. That didn't make me not root for Elphaba. But what I will say is, as far as it not squaring off with the movie, there's a couple of things that like I see, and then other things I thought that they were cool. Like when Elphaba does her like wicked laugh, and Glinda's like, "What is that?" You know what I mean? And you're like, "Okay,
Yeah.
that's funny."
Yeah.
Like, I get that. What
Yeah.
I found really weird, and maybe you guys can enlighten me on this, is I'm like, wait a minute, why are the Tin Man and um and the Scarecrow, like Fiero, why are they hanging out together? Like, how did that even become a thing? Why are they a crew?
Mhm.
For me, that was actually what, like, I hear what you're saying, Greg, and yes, it makes sense because it's like she's not a villain. That kind of worked for me though, like just looking at it from a different perspective because history, we know that history sometimes people are, but I really didn't understand why those people are hanging out. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, in Wizard of Oz, Dorothy comes across each of them individually.
Yeah.
So, she meets Scarecrow, and then she meets Tin Man, and she meets Lion, and so that's why they're all together.
But why did they go with her? Like why would Fiora go with her?
Yeah,
Mm,
that's the big question, right?
hmm
Which they never explain, which we don't need them to explain, except they're really trying to make this fit
Well,
tightly.
Right.
and
Can I go back to
also,
one point on the shoes? So,
yeah,
like the movie, and again, this is so fresh in my mind because I saw this at the Sphere, but like Dorothy can't take the shoes off.
right.
Not only that, but
That
Glinda
makes
is the
sense.
one that makes it that way, which
hmm
it would be a really easy conversation, and that would be a really kind of
Mhm.
fun, tense conversation between the two if that happens in Wicked. Like Glinda trying to explain why she did that.
That's it. That's
'Cause
really interesting. I'd forgotten that. That's really interesting.
Well, and if
right.
you think about in the Wizard of Oz, the only reason that Dorothy throws the water on the witch is because she's literally lighting the scarecrow on fire. Which so it makes no sense.
That was my other big nit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Correct. Twice. She lights Fiero on fire twice in the movie. Right.
Yeah.
And
So,
it's not like
it
she was angry at him for a certain point that could be explained. No, 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 no. They were
yeah.
lovers. I mean,
I
Right,
throughout
right,
the entire
right,
thing.
right.
Right.
I think
According to
Interesting.
Wicked, yeah.
I think
Yeah,
what they
yeah.
should have done is just been like, you know what? This is just complete fan fiction. This is just a
Yes.
totally different story. And
Correct. Right.
and have like a
But
few
it's
Easter
fine.
eggs here and there, but not like the strict, we're really trying to bring this in.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Totally. This is just right. Fan fiction, totally parallel, multiversal.
Hmm
Sure. Like in. Done. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I never felt the two times that I've seen the Broadway musical, I never realized how kind of sad and dark the second act really is, when you think about it. And especially in this movie, if you think about it, it kind of ends sad for all the characters. I mean, Linda, she's alone, she's sad. I mean, I guess it's
I
slightly
actually
more
felt really
hopeful.
hopeful at the end. Like I
Really?
was like,
I
Glinda's gonna
didn't.
lead them. She knows how to do this. She's finding the magic within herself that she's always wanted since she was a little girl. And then it's gonna be Fiero and Elphaba like forging a brave new world for themselves. Like I think the ending's very
So
hopeful.
I think you're both right.
Really?
Right. So I think the
Hmm.
hopeful part is that Glinda and Elphaba made each other better. Right. That's the big
Yeah.
song, yeah, at the end of it, and they learned a lot and they made each other. But Rachel, I think you have a very valid point. Right. It's like, and again, the movie definitely wanted to make you feel hopeful through some of the soundtrack choices and the editing shots, but in a vacuum, the story, yeah, no, it's a little grim, yeah. It's like it's
It's
not.
pretty.
You
It's
could
a
definitely take
downer.
this right. It can be a downer if you look at it that way.
Yeah.
That's a very fair interpretation, in my opinion.
And do you think that Glinda thinks that she really was melted, or do you think that she thinks that they're alive at the end?
Hey, that's a great
I
question.
thought
I
at
think
the end
she
she
definitely
figured out that she disappeared. No, right? Maybe I'm wrong. But I
I
thought
think
they
she
find the
definitely
hat.
thinks, yeah. I definitely think she thinks Fiero was gone though.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
But yeah, that's a great question. I think it's one of those things where it's serious, but I think you're right. I think she thinks she's probably out there somewhere and is probably holding out that hope.
hmm. Yeah.
Can I
Uh,
can I choose
yeah.
another nit just because?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Fiero's knocking on the trap door to find Alphaba at the very end?
Yes.
How can he knock? His hands are made of straw. It's ting ting ting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk about one of the big
Okay.
changes that they
Yes.
made is in Nessa's plotline from
Mm.
the musical.
Oh, yep.
And part of this is because they have um they have what's her Melissa Bode, I think is her name. Yeah, Marissa, sorry. They had Marissa Bode playing Nessa Rose, and she is an actual wheelchair user. And
Mhm.
so they couldn't do the same plot that they had. I mean, they had to alter it slightly from the musical where the Elphaba's spell makes her walk again. In the musical, here she's flying, and I don't know. What did you think? What did you think, Jax, about her story and how they handled Nessa?
This worked for me in the sense that I think it was heartbreaking that Nessa has been attributing the reason why Bach doesn't love her to being in a wheelchair when really it's like he's in love with Glinda and he's never been in love with Nessa. And I feel like this was an interesting sort of moment to showcase that. Also, it was really exciting to like see her flying rather than having her walk and it's like we're fixing her kind of thing. It's like, okay, you're transcending into a whole sort of different plane of existence and doing something that like no one can do. Um
Mm,
she is a lot more evil in this one in my mind than I see in the musical because we get more. And I think Marissa does a fantastic job of that. But it really is, you see how broken and fractured their relationship is and how Nessa really is sort of this taker who doesn't see Alphaba's perspective at all. So, I think they did a great job of adapting it, but it just, there's all these complicated feelings I have about Nessa that I would love on a rewatch to sort of work through that.
mm.
What were you
So,
guys thinking
Jax.
about this?
So here's my thought, Jax. My Is it that wondrous to be lifted like 8 feet in the air, like 12 feet in the air? That's sort of my problem. And like
No, no, no.
again,
I actually hear you. You're right. Isn't that wondrous?
In this world
it's
where you've got
wondrous.
people flying
Great.
on
I could have
brooms
gotten the
and
maybe to get up this high. Right? I mean, she couldn't have,
like
with handicap,
if it
but
happened in our life, then that would be pretty exciting. But in the world of Oz, where people are literally flying on broomsticks and
Right.
stuff, like it probably wouldn't be that. Wouldn't be as
right.
exciting.
It would have elicited a reaction. I just don't believe it elicited that reaction. And I think if she
Yeah.
was outside and she lifts her up 100,
Mhm.
200 feet in the air, she can see all of Oz's
Yeah.
splendor. She can even maybe fly her different ways. Done. Chef's kiss, perfect. Like that's as good, if not better, than the stage version of it,
Yeah.
in my opinion. But just indoors in her office, like, oh, great, great. I'm 15 feet in the air.
I
Yeah.
love that she's just hanging
Thanks,
out in her
Elphaba.
office and she's like, it's amazing.
Yeah. But how did you
I can
think,
see my
Greg?
chair and a whole new view. Like, I just,
How
just
did you
from a
think that they,
screen audience perspective, it's just like,
yeah,
really, like this isn't. It doesn't fit. Like it
I
just
can
didn't
see
fit what they were
that.
trying to achieve for me.
How did you think they handled sort of her descent into tyranny and to being this dictator as far as Nessa goes?
I thought that was handled really well. Like even seeing the when Fox tells her he has to leave and he's like, I'll be seeing you. And she's like, you know, you will kind of thing. You see in her eyes that she's going to just descend into this madness. I thought that in the time they had, the way they did it was really artfully done. What did you think about it, Rachel? Like, did it work for you or?
Yeah, I would say it worked pretty well for me. I think that her her desire to control Bach was probably the most effective part of that. You know, and
Mm-hmm.
that the her sort of desperation, increasing desperation, makes her more and more and
Mm-hmm.
more controlling.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that was pretty well done. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. This felt a little abrupt to me. That's a plot line I kind of want to give a little bit more air before it gets to its conclusion. But I thought Ethan Slater was particularly very good. Both of them were good, but I thought he in
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
particular was very
Yeah.
effective in terms of his little transformation, even in a compact time frame.
Yeah, I thought so too. One another interesting change they made from the Broadway musical is they have a wonderful sung by all three, by the wizard, Elphaba, and Glinda. So they add Glinda to the song, and I think that that was interesting because it is such a hopeful moment for Glinda because she's like, oh, everything's going to be great and everything's going to turn out wonderful, and how like honestly how hope and propaganda and those kinds of
Mm.
things can be used to control and manipulate people by bad people, and the so her emotional journey in that song adds like a whole new level of darkness to the song because it's kind of a forgettable song in the musical, and but here she's being so controlled.
You know, Rachel, I think that's so astute because it worked on me. Like I was like, why can't Alphabet just work inside the system? Like the wizard seems like a great guy. Like it was working on me. And you're talking about like that's how people use propaganda. Like I truly would have chosen that path in that moment. Like I'm going to be with my best friend. I can work from inside the system. He's willing to change. Like, can we do this? Yeah, I think you're right. That was extremely effective. And Jeff
And
Goldblum is incredible in this movie.
He was a lot
this is
better singing, I thought, in this one than in the first one.
Yeah, this is a really good change they made to bring in Glinda. I think it's really important for Glinda to be part of it, part of the
Yeah.
cell to Elphaba, and she's also. I mean, I agree. I think Goldblum sings fine, perfectly fine enough, much better than other actors who have been brought into musicals who don't have singing
Yeah.
experience. Just like this is
And I
just
just
fine.
felt
But
like, ooh, he took some lessons because it seemed
yeah,
better to me
yeah,
than in the first one.
yeah, yeah. And but when you can bring in Ariana Grande, to sing, that makes sense. This made complete sense. I thought this was a
Yeah.
great change for the
Mm-hmm.
screen adaptation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They also add a whole scene where the animals are leaving Oz and Alphaba confronts them and says, don't leave, stay here and fight. But if they stay, then they're going to continue to lose their voice. They're going to continue to become more savage, I guess, for lack of a better word. And so that's when she sings the new song, No Place Like Home. But Jax, what do you think of that sequence new to the material?
Um, I love that we get to see a little bit more about what Alphabet is fighting for and the journey that these animals have gone through and the ways that they've been oppressed and abused. It's always going to feel a little hokey to me when we're doing these, like when these animals are talking. And that's just a me thing. Like, that's just a me thing. I don't know why. It's just always going to feel like that. This is not a Wicked thing for me. I don't know what it's about suspending my disbelief, but I do think that since we had to build this out, like you said, Rachel, like, it can't just be like act two of the musical. Um, I think that this was, an interesting thing to be able to explore.
Mhm.
Did you guys
Did it
like the
work for you?
song?
No, I don't like either of the new songs.
I mean, this was the better of the two songs, in my
Yeah.
opinion. And I did like the direct tie back into the Wizard of Oz in this case. I thought that was kind of clever.
See,
But
I didn't like
oh, you didn't like that. Yeah.
that.
I mean, it was a forgettable song, but it was my favorite of the two.
I'm not even sure
Yeah.
they needed a song in that spot. That was my
Oh,
immediate
I could
reaction
see
to it.
that.
I might change my mind if I hearing it again or watching it again. But yeah, I thought the new Glinda song, the Bubble song was. I think they needed a song there, and I think it worked. Again, I'm kind of meh on the song itself, especially because it's not very cinematic. What they've done to
No,
it.
it's
Yeah,
not.
that's
Like
true.
if it was in the
I,
stage, you're like, all right, fine, you got to bring it into the
I don't know.
screen.
There was
But
just something
yeah,
goofy about a song about a bubble. I don't know.
hmm
It was
I
just,
do
it
I
didn't
do feel a
work for
little
me.
bit like and I think this is Rachel, to your point about Goofy about a bubble, and Greg, to your point about you didn't like the tie-in back to Wizard of Oz. It's like if someone went on the first pass to Chat GPT and like write two songs that you're gonna add to the Wicked musical, and it would be about a bubble and there's no place like home. And it
yes,
feels like it was a
yes, it
first
would.
pass.
Yeah. I mean, that's why
Yeah.
I just think that they should have just stuck with it being fan fiction as
Yep.
opposed to a direct tie into the Wizard of Oz. Because, I mean, if you think about it, she says, I'll get you my pretty and your little dog too. There's no world where the Elphaba in the Wicked Witch of the West in this world would say something like that about a doggy,
Yeah.
a sweet little,
Yeah.
Toto. Like, that doesn't make any
Right.
sense.
Or
Right.
when Glinda calls him, "Bye, Dodo."
But
She's so
let's talk
funny.
about what the movie has to say about propaganda. We talked a little bit about the language of hope and how it's used to control people, but I think that was a pretty effective messaging and overall theme of the movie is propaganda and how it's used uh, by so many of the different characters. And obviously Madame Marble would be the ultimate example of the person who's constantly you have to refer to Elphaba as the Wicked Witch. You have to she's very careful about policing everybody's language, which I just
Hmm.
think is interesting. And uh
Mhm.
in the way that they are able to the impact that they're able to have. What do you think about that, Jax?
I thought it was yes, like I think everything you're saying, and even the funny things where Glinda gets caught up in it and is like, "Can we trademark the word good?" You know what I mean? Like it's like this thing of it
Mm-hmm.
really just
Yep.
starts to spiral out of control, and the
hmm
ways at which people are so desperate to belong, to be part of a community, and also to exclude others so that they feel safe and protected because they're in a protected class rather than people who aren't, or in this case, the animals. And I think getting to see that, I mean, like, yeah, it's scary. It's scary to see it play out like this in this movie, but I did think it was extremely effective in a way that the musical for me can't be because it can't go in depth as much. What did you think about it,
hmm
Greg?
Yeah. I mean, generally agree. Again, I think it's a little too on the nose for a movie like this that I would want. Like, I just don't think this needs to be an apocalypse. It's not an apocalypse. It's Oz. But I
Yeah.
just mean like it just reminds me of so many fascist apocalyptic blockbuster movies we've seen in terms that they've
Mm.
tried to reinforce similar messaging.
Yeah.
That this movie has done. I keep thinking about Madame Morrible and then like the whole thesis of this movie is there's two sides to a pancake and there's always another side of the story and history is written by the victors. But then I'm like, well, what if Madame Morrible has an origin story? What if she's
Oh
the actual
no.
hero of the story we haven't
Yeah.
seen? But that's sort of the slippery slope that this kind of
Yeah.
storytelling invites is like if you it when if there's just still another villain, well then what's their story? Like, are there any villains?
Yeah.
Any other villains
Yeah.
in that?
Well,
So it's like
it's kind of like to bring up one of Rachel's favorite musicals, Into the Woods. It's the No One Is Alone. Like while we're singing our side, maybe we forgot thinking about the other side, witches can be right, giants can be good. You decide what's right, you decide what's good. That's what that made
Mhm.
me think of like, yeah, what is it? What is goodness?
Yeah, well, there's that line in Into the Woods. So it's just like to ask it's a giant, and then it says, "Well, ask a giant's mother,"
Oh,
or that kind of thing.
yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. And
yeah.
right. So like what is good? But then it comes back to like, well, if you just want a good movie, you need a good guy and a bad guy. It's
Yes.
just like, what
Yeah.
are we trying to
Well,
make a
that's what
documentary
Disney.
or we're trying to teach a morality play or we're trying to make a fun
Yeah,
Well,
movie?
yeah.
Yeah.
Disney has forgotten that in the last 20 years.
I
Every
agree. I
villain has to have a
100%
tragic
agree.
backstory, and nobody can. They either have to be a surprise reveal. Oh, you didn't think I was a villain, or they have to have some, like Maleficent and even the Red Queen and the Alice One. There's so many.
Well, I'm fine with the tragic backstory. That's fine with me. The problem, as long as like what the decisions they make as a result of that are bad. It's like
Uh-huh.
you
Right.
can have a very
Yeah.
human reasons for choosing bad, but the choices are still bad, and the movie has to make clear about that.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
but the problem is, as Disney and Marvel and like Maleficent is another example of that, where it's just like actually she made a bad decision. Everything she did was for good, and like okay,
Yeah.
well then what's to believe like then strictly speaking then the original movie's worthless, like it's just what's the point.
hmm Well, the other, I think, strength of the movie and why I still left feeling like positive about it is because I'm a big sucker for friendship stories,
Yep.
and I really love anytime that's a theme of a film, and their friendship story is still works pretty well, I think, in this,
Yes.
and their chemistry as women and as performers, I think, is very strong, and that helps you kind of get over some of these problems.
Yeah.
Mhm, totally
I
agree. That's funny. We spent the last 30 minutes sort of ragging on this movie, but it's still, I think it's where it lands as a positive review for me. And we're seeing, and I told my daughter, I said, I think you're really gonna love it when you see it this week. And oh, by the way, for audiences who don't know, she couldn't see it with me when I saw it, so I'm not a bad dad. It's just she was out of state when I had to see this movie for the podcast. So please don't report me to anywhere.
I
But
love the way you're like, I'm not a bad. Everyone was gonna think that immediately. Be like, Greg is a bad dad.
um, yeah, no, it's like I think generally Wicked fans. Uh, I really think Wicked fans are going to come at it the way we've come at it and the way we see it is like there's still enough to like here, but there's much more nits to pick and some choices that I
Yeah,
doubt a lot of people are going to like.
yeah. I think that their friendship is the reason why it's I think their friendship is cemented by the fact that For Good is the best song too as well, so that
Yeah.
like that helps make everything kind of we feel more positive because that's a great song, it's a great musical sequence, they have great chemistry together, and if you feel hopeful about the ending, it's because of their friendship.
Yeah. Well, and when they're on the two sides of that door and they're like saying goodbye to each other, I was like, this is cinema. Like it was so good. I was just
That
like,
was,
it,
that was an
and the
amazing
right,
shot. That was the
such an
best shot of the
amazing
movie.
shot. And I
Yeah.
did
Mm-hmm.
read somewhere, and who knows if this is true, that they almost didn't include that, but I thought it was incredible. And then honestly, that end, I was, seeing, Fiyero and Elphaba walk away like they do in the musical. But then when they showed them when they were like young girls at school and she whispers in her ear like the poster, but it was just so nostalgic and beautiful and really, like you're talking about, Rachel, about it's a friendship story and it ending with the two of them and their friendship. Like I was really getting chills. Like I was so moved. I was so moved. And these two actresses, like Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo together in this, I mean, it is chemistry that I think will go down in the history books. What is going on between
Mm-hmm.
them is something that you just don't see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what
I
are the other
do.
contenders? I'm just trying to think. I think you're right. I think it's number one for female friend stories. I mean,
Yeah.
again,
I
this is
mean, there's
mystery
like Thelma
bias,
and
but
Louise in movies like that,
I
but
don't think that's as yeah, I don't think that's as good from
yeah,
a friendship
this
point of view, like in terms
yeah,
of the dynamics there.
Yeah.
Just
just off the top of my head, but yeah, it's up there, and that's what makes this work is the
Yeah.
strength of the songs that are good and entertaining to watch, and the chemistry and the friendship story. I think that's why you can leave being like I had flaws and all. I had a good experience.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend about this that I kind of feel a little bit the same about this movie as I do about the Les Miserables adaptation. I know it's highly flawed. I know that they made a lot of decisions they shouldn't have made, but in the end, it still has those good songs. It still has the core message of Les Mis that I love. It's still Les
Hmm.
Mis, even if it's a flawed version of Les Mis. And so
Hmm.
it's still, I'm not going to give it high praise, but I still would overall recommend it, flaws and all. And I get it. If some people hate that movie, totally understand. But for me, that in both cases, the good outweighs the negative for me. As a, I'm way more of a super fan of Les Mis than I am of Wicked, but nevertheless, the good parts still to me are stronger than.
Yeah, I think it's incredible. I think that's exactly right, Rachel. I think it was incredible what this movie was able to do. I love that we had part two because I love that we had the time. Like, I love that we got to see when Fier's pointing his weapon at Glinda, we see how heartbreaking that is for her. And when she says he loves her and he wouldn't have hurt me, it's just so different than the way it lands in the musical. Like, it's great in the
Yeah,
musical,
yeah,
it's
but
true.
it's
yeah.
just, I mean, the I was just feeling things. And even looking at Vieira's face and Jonathan Bailey is playing it so beautifully, where you can tell like he feels bad, he feels guilty, but he has to do whatever he can to save the woman that he loves.
Well, that's the interesting thing is so this movie is from Glinda's perspective, where the musical is not. It's from Elphaba's perspective. And so I mean, you have this whole scene, this whole wedding scene, which was beautifully staged, of course. But you feel devastated. Whereas in the musical, you're excited because he's gonna be with, I mean, they don't have the wedding in the musical, but
Yeah,
you're
right. Yeah.
excited because oh, he's gonna be with Elphaba. But in this case, it's kind of bittersweet when he is with Elphaba because Glinda's been abandoned, and so
Yeah.
That
it's a
rebounded
different
pretty well from that wedding, that botched wedding. That was one of my
the
nits that I wanted to talk about more.
the
But
It was letting your right.
perspective
Say it.
is
Oh
just
yeah.
different though. Who's telling the story, and I think that does make a difference.
no, but that was my nit. Was I don't think she would have rebounded as well as she did in the
Mm,
movie. Like if it's, I was sort of
I
like
can see that.
she
Yeah,
just yeah, I don't know. That was it's a small nit because
I
ultimately it
mean,
doesn't really matter in terms of
Yeah, I
plot.
hear
But
that.
she's probably kind of going a little bit on adrenaline, because things are just
yeah,
happening, boom, 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 boom. And I have heard people complain that oh, that things are too fast in that section, which I think is a fair
hmm
complaint.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
and so people are like, well, how could you make it one movie because it's already feeling sort of rushed in certain points? I'm like, fair, but there were definitely parts in the first one that you could and I don't know. I just think they could have.
It's kind of
It's
hard because
tough.
I don't know what you cut from what they because I think pretty much everything there's a little bit of fluff in the second hour of part one, but I would cut like 15 minutes of it. Like so you
Hmm.
still have a
Pretty
2 hour
long.
40-minute movie or 230.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I just don't know what you're cutting to make room
Yeah.
for one movie, because now you're still looking at a 4 hour movie, even if you've cut an hour, because
It's a
I
tricky
think
thing.
cinematically everything they did made sense in part one.
Hmm. Yeah. But yeah, that was interesting. I mean, the wedding, it
Oh,
was
sorry. One other thing. Don't forget, they're almost going to make a 3-part movie out of
Wait,
this,
I did
this
I did not
musical.
know that, Greg. For real?
They
I wouldn't
tried, and
be.
then they decided, never mind. We're going to do two.
Yeah.
Yes, they were going to do 3 movies. Like,
I would not
but
be surprised at all if we do get another movie, though. I was going to ask you all about that.
oh, we're not done. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm sure they
Okay.
had
Oh
Stephen
wait, really?
Schwartz
Okay,
like
yes.
act. No. Nothing's been confirmed or anything, but just
No,
like
no, but you
okay,
guys
that
think so. They're gonna,
I do,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I love
Especially
yeah,
with
that.
how well I think this is going to do.
yeah, oh yeah,
I think we're
Stephen
going to get.
Schwartz. I bet, is already working on new songs for
Yeah.
whatever
Okay, I'm
it'll probably
excited.
be a trilogy, a new trilogy. It'll be
Oh no.
Alphabet will come
Yeah.
back. But
Honestly, this press tour gives me life. I really enjoy it. So like, give me more press tour. Give me another movie. Give me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that we will, yeah, I think that's happening. I would be shocked if it
yeah,
didn't.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'd bet on it. I would.
Which would be interesting to see all because then it wouldn't have the burden of what we
Exactly.
already know. It could just be its own story.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
it wouldn't be burdened by either the stage musical or the Wizard of Oz. Like
Right.
both of those things are
right,
done.
right, right. Well, Madame Horrible, they could call it. I don't know what her backstory would be called, but
Oh,
that's they'll
prequel.
have. I mean,
Yeah.
they much rather go backwards and forwards. So I'm just thinking, like, Madame Horrible prequel. She's the true good guy after all. Yeah, I don't know. It's
We're
just.
really going, it's like the nesting dolls of like, how deep can we
Oh yeah.
go?
Well,
Yeah.
right. I mean, or you could call it a
I
pyramid
mean,
scheme, depending on your point
there
of
We're that
view.
too. That too. Yeah,
there
exactly.
are multiple, I think, multiple sequels of the book, of the original book. I mean, it would be hard because
Yeah.
the musical is such a loose adaptation of that book. I mean,
Right.
I actually just read it for the first time this year because of a FanX panel I was on, and I was kind of shocked. It is so different.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I mean,
So,
but some of the core elements are the
so
same, which is why I never. Well, I won't
yeah.
rehash what I've already said.
Anyway, but that will be interesting. But yeah, I mean, what I guess as we finish, like Jax, what would you say was like another highlight or another positive that you took out of the movie?
I think that like ultimately, like having this ending where Glinda really, we see that she really is going to try to be good, I think is something that you don't get out of the musical. And I think that it really, again, added to me feeling hopeful. Like when she tells all the animals to come out and all of Oz, it's like she really is committed to doing what she can.
Well, and the fact that she can at the end use the grimoire
Yes,
is
she
kind of
can use it now.
interesting.
It's huge.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
Well, one thing I wanted to bring up, it's not really something I liked, but there was not a ton of dancing in this movie. And
Right.
something I really enjoyed from the first one, their choreography in that, and I wish I was
Hmm.
missing, and I'm not sure where I would have inserted it. Like you're not making a dance number out of like No Good Deed, unless the monkeys are dancing. Like I actually would have enjoyed that if the flying monkeys are dancing through that. But like they had a very brief and wonderful, like them sort of rehashed Glinda and Elphaba doing that quick little dance was awesome, and just some
Hmm.
really nice
That's
quick
true.
Yeah,
choreography.
that was great.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't a dance heavy. That's true. I
No, it wasn't.
I think another highlight of the film was the No Good Deed sequence. I thought was very effective. That
Fantastic.
was
Incredible.
yeah, that was
Incredible.
So
uh
cinematic.
where Jonathan Bailey was really able to shine because he isn't given that much to do in this one, I think that that's that's one of his stronger scenes.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's able to do that. And
So
it kind of reminded me of the in Beauty and the Beast, the march song in Beauty and the
Oh,
Beast.
yes.
Kill the
oh yeah,
beast,
yeah,
and
yeah.
Yeah.
Kill the
Kill the
beast. Right.
beast.
yeah.
So, Rachel, in addition to being a theater critic, you're a film critic, published one on Rotten Tomatoes, approved critic. Did you see any Oscar performances in this
Ooh,
movie?
that's an excellent question.
Yeah. So this is interesting because there were a lot of people who claimed category fraud about Ariana Grande going in as supporting in the
Yeah.
first movie. I was like, she is kind of the supporting character to Elphaba within the story. So I'm like, I could kind of see it for the first one. If they, and I think they are going to do it for the second
Oh
Yep.
yeah,
one, which is completely absurd. Like she is absolutely the lead
Yeah, she's the
character
lead. It's her
of
story. Yeah.
this movie. So that's absurd. You know, before it come out, I was like, oh, this is going to be a big contender. I was feeling really, and I am notoriously terrible about Oscar predictions. So don't
Mhm.
listen to me, but
It's your own opinion. Like, is there
Yeah.
any
I'm
Yeah,
just
Oscars?
your opinion
usually
of it.
very bad. I kind of thinking maybe it's not going to be as big a contender as I was thinking it would. I think that Ariana is still going to get in there. I think there'll be enough of a push from Universal, and I think that they'll still get in some of those production design, costumes, which were outstanding. I think that's the one that it will still win again is costumes.
Yeah.
But one of the things that will hurt it this year is this is a very competitive year for music. I think it would have
Yeah.
a better chance as far as songs, but with K-pop Demon Hunters and Sinners, those are very strong original songs and score and
Yeah.
those kinds of things. So I think that it's going to have a harder time in some of the categories that might have had an easier time other years. Like if this was last year with Amelia Perez and all of that, it would it would have an easier time. But yeah, I think the costumes is probably the most safe bet that it's going to win
Yeah.
costumes again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought from one, I I personally thought Arrivo should have been nominated, but not Grande. Personally, just I
Mm.
forget who I wanted in there instead of Grande. This year, I think I'm fine with both of them getting nominations in a
Yeah.
vacuum. I got to see how the rest of the
Mm-hmm.
performances shake out, but I thought they were both really excellent.
They have a pretty good
This
chance, I
entire,
think, still.
yeah,
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't want
and it,
Chu getting a director nomination. I don't think he deserved it for this one. I
No.
disagree with so many choices. Again, I wanted him to get it for the first one, not for this adaptation. And that's yeah. Besides costuming, and I'm not an expert enough to declare editing whether it should get best editing or cinematography or not. But
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
I have a
It won production design for the first one, and it would definitely be
mhm.
in the. I mean, it was very
Yep.
strong in this one as well.
like, because I don't understand the Oscars as much. Like, do you think that would Cynthia Erivo, if she gets a nomination, would she also be in supporting, or would she be no?
No, because well, I mean, at
Which
least
is
for part
crazy.
one,
Depends.
they had her as lead,
Lead,
and
but
so
she has so much more of a significant. I think
uh,
part one is Alphabet Story, part two is more Galinda's. But you think they'll just keep her in the same
yeah,
category, even though that's the case? Okay,
I
yeah,
do.
So,
But I agree with you. That
yeah.
but
That's
but
interesting, though. Yeah.
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 So there we go. I think we covered basically pretty much everything, and we'll definitely be curious for comments about what our listeners thought of it, what they thought of a comparison to the stage musical, and so put in your comments in the comment section. And Greg, where can people follow the podcast, all that kind of stuff? Follow your thoughts. You did not a theater reaction, right?
I did, yeah. So if you want to see my immediate reaction, you can just make sure you subscribe to Facebook to Onstage Blog at Facebook for Facebook. It's available as a reel there. If you subscribe to the new Onstage Blog newsletter, you would have gotten my review of Onstage Blog on Saturday morning, the night after. I had about 800 words I've written on that. I also have a column coming later this week before Thanksgiving, expanding more on the topic on the discussion we had in this podcast about like just sort of the slippery slope we were on as far as villain origin stories. Like, did source material Wicked make Alphabet too good? And
Yeah.
just
Mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm,
problems that can that may ensue from that. So
mm-hmm.
yeah, check us out. Subscribe on Stage Blog, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I think on YouTube or on Stage Blog 8213, I think is our handle. And subscribe to our newsletter, which you can get to on our website onstageblog.colm.
And Jax, where can people find you?
Jacqueline Collier on Instagram.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews all over the place and at rachelsreviewstheater.com for my theater reviews. And so definitely check that out. And again, we'd like to hear your thoughts on the movie and what all the things we talked about. And I will talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye.
Subscribe, hit that subscribe button.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.